ain't talking about you, man. If I can't spin a block and find out about you, man, the people ain't about you, man. That's just what it is, you know?
But I got you.
Talk about it. Streets.
Yeah, this one's for the streets first. Stripes like a referee shirt.
It's your boy Butta, and I'm back with another episode of Streets First Podcast. And you already know how your boy do. I goes out and I get him, you dig? I pulled up. You know what I mean? This podcast right here is powered by Mocha. Make sure you look out for Mocha as well, okay? Yep. I am doing that with coming, as you can see, to Atlanta. Okay?
Yeah.
I wanted to pull up into the communities, you know what I mean, that's diversified, where people, you know, are color, black, that is doing real good things in the world, you know what I mean? So with business and with what we're doing, let me, let you know while I'm here in Atlanta, and it's because of the great Yandy Smith.
No, thank you very much.
Shout out to Yandy, y'all.
Thank you.
Yandy, I am so happy to see you. It's been a very long time.
It has.
You know what I'm saying? Like you said, 10, 15 years.
No, I think more like 15 years. Because you said your big girl just graduated from Howard.
Yes.
When I met her, she was probably about 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, congratulations on having a baby that graduated from the illustrious Howard University.
The alumni. Shout out to the HBCU.
Shout out to HBCUs in the building. We got HU in the house. HU. Okay. You know.
Okay.
We got a few Howard alum in the building. I love it.
But let's really get to the listeners. I want them to be able to hear, how was it for Yandy to be coming from Harlem to Atlanta? Like, how did you bring that Harlem hustle to Atlanta? Give us a little insight on that.
Well, I have to be honest. I came to Atlanta kicking and screaming. Those that are here from Atlanta, I'm sorry, but I did not want to come. My husband was like, we're going to Atlanta. We are starting fresh. He's like, all this money we paying for this townhome, we could have an 8-bedroom house with a backyard and a basketball court and have our kids running around free. And sure enough, I came to Atlanta, got that house with the basketball court, and I love it so much. So I'm happy to be here. But when I came here, what I do know is that if I don't hustle, I don't eat. Right? So I wanted to make sure when I got here, I came with the same fervor I had in Harlem. What I know is how to work, right? I got these babies that I gotta feed. I always like to do things for my community. I like to employ people, I like to hire people, and then I like to create spaces where people can just feel good. If you talk to the staff here, they'll tell you that, we have nights where we're just dancing on the dance floor, the DJ's turning up, and we just kick it, shooting videos, having a great time. I own the store next door as well, and that's a skincare store. Wow. And there at that store, it's an all-natural, plant-based skincare line. And that's really not just about feeling good, but looking good.
What's
right?
the name of it?
It's called Yell Skincare.
Yell Skincare.
You guys look it up. It's yellskincare.com. But I started that store. I started that brand at a very tough time. I was going through a lot, and I didn't like the way I looked. I was on the show. It was my second year on the show, and I just felt like something had to go. I had bags under my eyes. I had dark circles. And wow. I was like looking in the mirror, I realized my confidence was directly connected to what I looked like and how I felt about myself. And I didn't feel good. So I went to one of the local beauty supply chains at Sephora, and I asked, what can I do? What can I do for my skin? I'm having these issues. I have dark circles around my eyes. My nose was peeling, yet the rest of my face was oily. I was breaking out, and because it was my second season on the show, I'm popping pimples, or I got dark spots. And they started just throwing things in the box, and I'm like, okay. Wow. And I'm like, well, I don't see any representation of me. I'm like, you sure this works on black skin? You sure this works for black people? They're like, yes. When I got to the register and they rung up everything after I waited in a long line, it was $479.
Wow.
And that was my monthly supply. That was my 30-day supply.
For 30 days?
30 days, $479. And I said, the average woman, and at that time, I was definitely the average woman, even on a TV show, I can't afford $479 every 30 days to take care of my skin and to look better.
Wow.
And then I have to ask you, does it really work for me?
That's true.
That was a problem for me.
Okay.
So I left that store and I realized that there was a white space for an all-natural, plant-based line where we were represented and we had visibility. That was affordable.
Okay.
So for like my 5-piece system, today those that were at Bronner Brothers, you know you got it for $109.
Shout out to Bronner Brothers.
Shout out to
Okay.
Bronner Brothers. Because I wanted to make sure that I addressed the issues that I had and that my community has. And if you look at the imaging, you see all people of color on all of the flyers, on all of our marketing, all of our commercials. You see a diverse group of people of color. And that was super important to me. Back to why I came here to Atlanta. So when I came here to Atlanta, I wanted to make sure I opened up a brick and mortar that represented the culture of the brand.
Yes.
It's all natural, it's plant-based. I started it with my family as my inspiration. So I have my mother and my sister that run it.
Okay.
Me and my husband are there all the time.
Okay.
And then when you walk into the store, it looks like the Garden of Eden.
Yes, it does.
So the hustle don't stop. The hustle
Okay.
came from New York here.
Okay.
It don't stop.
I'm just curious though. So, being that you went from opening up that, let's speak a little about where we're at. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Let's speak a little about Dancin. Crep.
So we are at
Let me hear
Dancin
about
Crep.
it. Yes.
So when I was at Yale, it started with Yale. While we were here, we would walk by this location. It was an empty space. And I kept saying, I wish, it was during COVID.
Okay.
So I'm like, I wish I could do something. I can have something where people can just come and they can just convene together. We could break bread together. But I'm gonna wait till this whole COVID thing passed. I'm gonna wait.
That's a tough time.
It was a tough time, but my mind was always like, I want to build community. I didn't know a lot of people here. I knew like the girls from the TV shows that I was on, but I didn't really know a lot of people here. And I was like, I want to build a community of people so that I could come, I could dance in my own space, have fun. I really like to cut up.
Okay.
But I don't want to cut up at your club. I want to cut up at my spot.
At your own spot.
At my own spot. So I walked by this space all the time and I was like, one day, I'm going to get it. It became available.
Okay.
And when it became available, I was like, I want it. So we got it, my partner and I, and we worked on this space. It took us forever. That's a whole nother story. When you want to start these businesses and you have these dreams and these goals, and it just don't turn out the way you want it to turn out. The contractor that we hired told us it would take us 2-3 months. We started the build out probably in like maybe August.
Okay.
So I was like, we're gonna do something really big for New Year's. We'll already be open for a while. Baby, New Year's came and gone.
And you still wasn't open yet.
My birthday's in March. My birthday came and gone.
Oh, you didn't even get a chance to
Didn't even
pop.
open. It took us almost a year to get this space built. And you see, this is not huge. It took us almost a year to build this space out. Lot of money.
Look at the greatness, though.
It did turn out great. It did turn out great. But it was supposed to be opened up in 3 months.
Much faster.
Okay? It was supposed to be exactly. So with that message in that is sometimes you gotta wait for it to be great.
Okay. Gotta wait.
You gotta wait for it to be great. So don't give up. And we wanted, because what was supposed to be $48,000 turned out to be over $200,000.
Wow.
Again, this is a little small spot. I'm like, what you mean to put these wood panels on this column is $23,000? What do you mean?
Business.
Cut the wood panels out and let's get plastic panels. Like, it was just like every single thing that could go wrong. And the piping was bad. The flooring had mold. We had to just gut things out that didn't meet the eye. And we wanted to give up several times. But, we were like, let's keep pushing. And we pushed through. And that was the birth of this baby. So I love it. And I'm super happy because, again, it was created for things like this. We do karaoke night here.
Wow.
We have open mic nights. We have poetry nights. We have all kind of stuff. And my dream was, when COVID is over, I want this to be a space for the community, for us to just come, kick back. This is not like Ruth Chris.
Okay.
You come here, you're going to end up with your shoes off. You're going to end up on the dance floor. You're going to be dancing in the aisle. There's no rules here.
Yeah, that's like
You have
on
a
our
really
block,
good
on your
time.
block.
Yeah, like you hang out on the block.
In the
right.
neighborhood.
That's it. So we really promote community and fun and just good vibes.
Now, when you sit here and you speak of good vibes, yeah, like, let's just take them back just a little bit, okay? Grant Projects, you growing up in Harlem.
Grant Projects.
Like, let's just talk about what were the things that Yandy was striving for at that time. Like, if we could just, if Yandy could speak back a little bit about how she saw herself then, what was Yandy's visions at that time?
If I'm completely transparent and honest, I never would have imagined, I didn't dream big. You know, I saw my community. I think back then my dream was, I pray that my dad stops using drugs.
Okay.
You know, my
Every
dream.
family, everybody has
my
their own
dream
little
back then was,
okay.
I pray that my mom stops using drugs.
Okay.
And I didn't see beyond that.
Okay.
I wanted to go to school. I wanted to get good grades. But what I really wanted was for me to have clean parents.
Okay.
I remember thinking about that all the time. That consumed my thoughts. I wanted my parents to be clean. But the crazy thing about how God works is, even in the midst of dealing with my home life, opportunities would present itself to me, and I have no idea why they were presented to me. The start of my career, I went to, in Harlem, I don't know if you guys know much about Harlem, but that was pretty much when I was growing up, it was all black. Mm-hmm. And I went to an all black high school. So one day, now again, I'm in Grant Projects, all black, my high school's all black, I'm in my school, there's this older white gentleman walking around. And as he's walking around, I'm like, who is that? What are you doing here? So me, I like to talk and I like to meet people, and I'm gonna tell you guys, let me tell you something, I'm gonna drop nuggets here and there. Manners will open up doors that money cannot. I went up to this man and I said, my name is Yandy, how are you? He's like, I'm well. I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I am the CEO of The Gap. My name is Mickey Drexler. And I said, oh my gosh, I love The Gap. We wore uniform at the time. I'm like, listen, I have this white shirt, I have this blue skirt, it's not Gap. It was probably Conway. Conway was like the store you get skirts for $5.99, shirts for $3.99. And I was like, I would love to wear Gap. I just can't afford Gap, but I love The Gap. And I was like, so you need to make Gap more affordable so that people like me can buy Gap clothes. And I'm like, but I do love it. So he's like, okay. And I said, what I would love to do is, I was like, I want to work for you one day. And I was like, matter of fact, if you put a Gap store in my school, I bet you everybody would have Gap white shirts and blue skirts or blue pants. He was like, okay. And I'm like, well, I got to go to class. See you later. Went to class, and by last period, my principal was coming to get me. She's like, well, I need to talk to you. Take me to the office. I'm like, oh Lord, what do I do now? I get to the office and he's there and he's like, listen, I want to put a Gap store in your school.
Whoa.
And I want you to run it.
Whoa.
This is my 10th grade year. And I was like, okay. And then he said, and I also want to offer you an internship at the Gap. I was like, okay. That day, I went down. Now, mind you, I'm a little girl living in the projects. I went down to the corporate office. My mom took me down there, and I started my Gap internship.
From a conversation? From
a conversation that I just said, who are you? Who? Right? And started my Gap internship. Fast forward, I stayed there. So I interned at the Gap until my senior year. At my graduation, right? Now, at my graduation, I was distraught. My mom is now clean. My dad, I just wanted my dad to be there with my mom for my graduation. I got there, my mom was like, your dad probably won't make it. We've been calling, he didn't come home. We don't know if he's gonna make it. I'm like, all right. I'm crying all through my graduation. My dad didn't make my graduation, super sad. And you know, the graduation is going on. I'm so not focused on my graduation. I don't even know what's going on. But then I hear them say, Yandy L. Smith, can you come to the stage?
Uh-oh.
I'm like, what they calling me for? I know, I didn't graduate with honors. I was just a regular, I think I had like a C average. I was super regular. And I'm like, me? I don't have a math award, a science award, a reading award. So they called me up and I'm like, yes. And they wanted to present me with a scholarship to Howard University. The Gap.
I hope y'all hearing this.
The Gap.
This is how it starts. If you hear someone else's story,
Gap.
You'll be surprised.
The Gap presented me with a scholarship to Howard University. That was my dream school. I got accepted. My mother was like, I don't know how we're going to afford that. So I really wasn't thinking I was going to go. But God had other plans for me. So I got my scholarship, not because of my academics. I got my scholarship because I was there and I outworked everybody there.
Talk to him.
Even my boss. I worked in the public relations department at the time. My boss got in at 9, my boss left at 5. I got in after school, so I would get there by 3. I got out of school at 2:30. And I was staying many nights till 7, 8 o'clock, making sure the PR closet was right.
Wow.
And they took notice of that. So when I got to college, when I got to Howard, they offered me a job in the summers. So every summer, I would get flown out to California and I would work in their corporate offices.
Wow.
So I worked there all 4 years. And that was really the start of my corporate career. And I thought I wanted to get into merchandising.
Woo. Now, I'm making sure that I'm looking right here because I had a...
See, y'all didn't know that. I know y'all didn't see that on Love and Hip Hop.
That's why I said these are
So
things
y'all didn't
that I
know
know
that.
y'all might not get. You get what I'm saying? That's why I want to make sure I got the specific ones for
Yes.
y'all, okay? This is for y'all, Atlanta, all right? For the world too, but this is really for y'all. Now, I wrote this question down because I felt like, you know, you've worked with some great artists and executives. Mona Scott, rest in peace, Chris Lighty, Missy Elliott, Jim Jones, Busta, just a few. Take us through some of those like experiences and stories. You know
my
what I mean?
goodness.
Like, to work with those different types of people.
Well, I'll tell you first how I got the job. So when I graduated Howard, I was thinking that I would work for the Gap. I just knew that I was going to be a merchandiser for the Gap. So the year that I graduated, the CEO of the Gap left the company and went to J. Crew. When he left, he had a program that I was developing through. It was called the Retail Management Program. Going through that program, I was guaranteed to come out of college making 80 grand. With him went the program.
With the program.
So they were going to start me at the basic level. At this point, I had been interning and working for the Gap for 6 years. I wasn't going to graduate making $35,000 a year.
Wow.
I wasn't going to do that. So what did I do? I started bartending. I was bartending at a restaurant. I was bartending at clubs. And when I got tired of that, like I got a whole college degree. I decided to go back. That was in DC. I decided to go back to New York, go to my mom's 1-bedroom and cry.
Hustling?
And
Uh-oh.
No, I didn't hustle. I was depressed. I'm like, I got a whole college degree.
No, but you was hustling when you went to that bar.
Oh, I was hustling at the
That's
bar.
all I'm saying. It was a hustle.
So when my bartender is busy and I go back there, they're like, Yandy, what you doing? I'm like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. I got you. Let me help you. I remember. So I went back home, and sometimes this is another lesson. Sometimes you could prepare, you could plan, you could prepare, and you can plan.
Okay.
And you can do everything that you think you needed to do for your steps to align for your goals. And then something happens and it doesn't work out. The Gap didn't work out, and I felt like life was over. I'm like,
Wow.
and for college, unlike high school, I graduated with honors. I graduated with a high GPA. I was magna cum laude. I was that girl at Howard.
High expectations. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, why am I bartending? And then when I went back home to New York, I'm like, why am I sleeping on my mom's couch? When we had this 1-bedroom. So one of my friends came to New York. He was a promoter, and he's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to book Butta. You want to come with me to the office? I'm like, all right, I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm on my mother's couch. So I went with him to the office. It was Violator Management. Went with him to Violator, and I'm sitting in the conference room. He went back to pay Busta's manager for the deposit. As I'm sitting in this office, it's a glass door.
Wow.
I see Busta walk in. I was like, that's Busta.
The legendary.
I see LL Cool J walk in. I'm like,
Another
y'all know how we felt about LL when we were young, right? At that time, nobody knew who 50 was, but he came in with 30 people, and I'm like, who is this person all loud and everybody smell like weed?
How to rock.
And I just saw the office and what it felt like, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to work here. I'm like, I don't know nothing about this music business, but I want to work here. So while my friend was still talking in the back, the reception, I went up to the reception desk. I said, hey, are you guys looking for any interns? Are you hiring? She didn't even look at me. She was just like, no.
Another question, y'all. I'm going to make sure I point that out. She asked another question again, but go ahead.
So I went back to the conference room, like, okay, they're not hiring. All right. I went back to her. I said, now she's reading a book, so that's why she didn't look at me. And I said, I know you guys aren't hiring, but I want to leave you with my phone number. And I want to get your email so I can send you my resume. I didn't even have a resume. I was just graduating college. I only worked for the Gap. So that would have, my resume would have said the Gap. That's it. She's reading a book and she's like, okay, yeah. She's like, just leave your number right here. Just write it down on a piece of paper. And I'm like, can I have your number? She's like, no. I'm like, can I have your email? She's like, no. I'm like, okay. And then she gave me the Violator business card, right? Okay. And I'm like, okay. I took it. My friend was done with his meeting. We leave. The next day, I noticed that she was reading this book, The Coldest Winter Ever.
Wow. Okay. Y'all know about that.
I went and got the book.
Wow.
So I called the office. Hi, this is Yandy. You remember me? She's like, no. I'm the girl that was there yesterday and I was wondering if you guys had any internships. I just wanted to make sure you took my number off the piece of paper. She's like, yeah, I have it. And I was like, oh, and I got the same book you're reading. I said, baby, midnight? We started talking about The Coldest Winter Ever. So I'm like, chapter 1 is crazy. I just read it and such happened. And she's like, dear girl, wait till you get to chapter 6. It gets even crazier. We hung up the phone.
Connecting.
Y'all know I stayed there until I got to chapter 6 on the phone. So the next day, maybe 2 days passed. Now I was like, hey Tiffany, It's Yandy again. I don't know if anything opened up, but I just want to make sure you know where my number is, and I got up to chapter 6. She's like, girl, you see, we start talking about chapter 6 for a whole 10 minutes.
Y'all going in.
We going in.
Yeah, but y'all connected
But now she's on chapter 11, and I found out she went to Hampton. I'm like, oh, you went to the fake HU. We having that whole conversation. So now we laughing and playing about the fake HU and Howard. Then I called back the next day. I said, listen, I got a job interview on the corner of your block. I'd love to take you to lunch if you're free. I'll treat you. I didn't have no job interview. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to pay for her lunch. I said, listen, I'm going to take lunch between 12 and 2. Who don't take lunch between 12 and 2? And I said, just let me know where you're going to be. She said, just meet me in front of the office. Met her in front of the office. I didn't have nothing to do. Went there, waited. When we finished eating and we cut up at lunch, it was fine. She's like, come back to the office. It's a slow day. Come on. I'm like, okay. While I'm there with her, Mona Scott Young walks in. She's the boss. She comes in on the phone, glasses, shades, and she walks in. Tiffany, give me my schedule. She's the reception. She said, give me da-da-da-da. And she's like, who is this? Who's she here with? Tiffany's looking at me like, don't say you here with me. And I was like, well, actually, I'm here. I left my resume the other day. I just came to check on the status of my resume. And I was like, it was an office that was like right by, and I was like, is that your office? And she's like, yes. And I was like, let me tell you something. I said, your office needs to be organized. I was like, I'm a master organizer. I said, all those papers on your desk, those CDs thrown there, I can organize everything, and I can do it right now. And she was like, and I said, and I'll do it for free.
Wow.
She's like, well, okay, fine. I went in that office, baby.
She's in the door.
I put labels on stuff. I was in the door.
You're in the door.
I was in the door. I became her assistant's intern. I was cleaning bathrooms. I was going to get coffee. If it was cheesecake that was needed, I was walking to get cheesecake. I was taking urine specimens to the doctor. Whatever needed to be done at Violator, I was doing it.
Wow.
And that was my start into music management. So I was an intern for the assistant. Then I became Mona's assistant. Then I became a junior manager. By the time I became a junior manager, I was touring the world with Missy Elliott. From touring the world with Missy Elliott, I went on tour with 50 and Butta, on the Get Rich and Dying tour. And then eventually, after being there for some time, I started my own management company. And that's when I started managing Jimmy, and I was working with the Diplomats as well. So
how, from music now, you transfer into television and a philanthropist? Like, if you could briefly just shift us.
You said briefly because I'm talking too much?
No. I say that because I don't want you to give us a story, because I know there's a lot of a story that you could give us on you shifting into television.
Yes, I'll be brief.
Help us with that.
So television started because I was managing Jimmy at the time, and Jim, his mother, and Chrissy they were characters, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
We would go on tour. Sometimes his mom would pop up. Sometimes his girl would be on the tour bus with us. And it was always like a movie to me.
Made for TV.
And I was like, I gotta put a camera on y'all. Because y'all crazy. y'all. And then he had his entourage. So on our tour bus, we had 15 bunks. Then we had 2 chairs in the front that counted as like one bag and a big bag in the back. He would have about 30 people on that bus going state to state. You know.
I know.
You know how they do them. And I would be one of the only girls, unless Chrissy decided to come out or Mama Jones or some random just ended up on the bus with us. We won't even talk about that. But it was a movie. So I decided to put a camera on them.
Okay.
Randomly, I put a camera on them and I was like, I'm going to turn this into a TV show. I met one of the executives from VH1 when I was doing some stuff with Missy. There was a show called The White Rapper Show. Missy did it. Sat backstage again, talking, met somebody, and I just randomly, hey, my name is Yandy, what do you do? And he's like, I'm the senior VP of programming at VH1. And I was like, well, listen, I got a show. I'm like, I've had a camera on these artists that I'm managing. They're batshit crazy. And I was like, I need you to put them on TV. He's like, well, come in, bring what you got, and let me look at it. So that was the start of my deal. And I presented this show to them, and I was able to get a development deal with VH1.
Okay.
So that is how I landed a deal with VH1. After a while, Jim was like, this is too intrusive, all these cameras. The show was only about him and his family. He was like, this is too much for me. Keeping Up the Joneses, no more. He wound up knocking the cameras over, going crazy on my camera people. So you know how he gets down.
Jones.
So I went to Mona, who at this time was my old boss, because I had left Violator. And I'm like, Mona, I kept a great relationship with her. Relationships were super important. Kept a great relationship with her. And I'm like, Mona, I'm gonna lose my deal because my artists don't want to shoot this show no more. And she's like, well, I've been shooting a show. I've been trying to get a show picked up that I'm working on about the women in hip hop.
Okay.
And I'm like, tell me more. And at this time, it was like Mashonda, DMX's baby mother, I think Busta's fiance at the time, and some other women. And I was like, let's put Chrissy on that show. Okay. And I was like, if you have the guys, let's put Jim on that show. And she's like, yeah, but I don't have a deal. And I'm like, well, I got a deal. I'm like, let's pitch your show under my deal, but we got to make Jim and his family the prime family, the prominent family on the show. Okay. She's like, okay. So we combined forces, presented that to VH1, and they bit. And that was the start of Love and Hip Hop 15 years ago.
I hope y'all paying attention, because like I said, it could be somebody you sitting next to walking the same walk as life as you, and look, they could ask a question and look at where it could turn from.
Yep.
Just out of curiosity, right? Philanthropy. You building a family, because now this is where a lot of things are starting to transition. This is what I'm trying to help the next generation of young women be able to see success in a different way. How were you able to be around so much with hip hop, entertainment, and now turn it into a business with building a family?
So philanthropy for me was super important because I know that it wasn't the fact that I was the super smartest girl. I was never the best looking girl. But I was always the person that needed someone to turn back and help me out. My first person was Mickey Drexler, the CEO of The Gap, who I still keep in touch with today.
Wow.
30 years later almost. Matters. And then next, even Mona. When Mona looked at me, I didn't have any experience in the music business. Wow. And I said, I will clean your office. I don't care what I gotta do. I want to work here. Wow. And she said, okay. And literally being in her office, cleaning her office, sitting, hearing her on phone calls, watching her mannerisms and all the different stuff that she was doing, that is what helped me in this business. Okay. I literally watched her cadence. I watched how she moved. I watched how she talked. And that's what helped me be who I am in this business. So someone always gave back to me. So I always promised myself, if I'm ever at a place where I can give back, I will do it. And I want to do it in a large way. So philanthropy is super important to me. Activism is super important to me because somebody did it for me. Somebody advocated for me. Somebody gave back to me. So I only have to pay it forward. And then with my family, it's important to my family as well. My husband is from Harlem. Shout out to Miss DC, he's in the building. Hey!
Salute, Kate.
So, you know, for us, I don't want to do anything or have anything without my family being a part of all of it. So my family's out there marching with me. My family's out there giving away Christmas gifts with me. We do everything, the businesses, we do everything together as a family because we want our children to be raised up. Normally you'll see one of the kids running around serving waters or serving juices because entrepreneurship is important. When we're marching or we're having Christmas giveaways, the kids are with us because we want them to understand that this is important. You gotta give back.
If there is like one thing that you could give to like parents with what you do, how do you and Mendici like help acquaint your kids with financial literacy? Because now they're growing up, you know, under you guys and seeing business and seeing how to do success in a different way. How do you help them, you know, get ready to prepare for that?
So we do different things, right? Like my husband, so we have an 18-year-old, he already started building his credit at 17.
Wow, that's
He puts him on all his credit cards. He makes sure that he makes purchases in his name and then pays it off so that by the time he's out of our house, he's already having established 800 and something credit score.
Wow.
Now what I do with my son, my big son, he works here on his free time during the summers or when he's not busy at school. The little ones, like I told you, if you get a chicken and waffle, most likely on the weekend is one of my kids that made you that waffle. They understand. They understand how important it is to hustle. They roll napkins, they get waters, and then they'll be here and they get so excited about tips. They're like, Mom, I made $30. I made $45 today. They be super excited about it. And for me, that's teaching them the process. When you work hard, you deserve to be paid. And then I pay them. I pay them $10 an hour when they work. Wow. So not only do they get tips, they also get $10 an hour from me when they work here. Because it's important for me to make sure they understand the value of hard work. They understand the value of service, good service. And then also, I make sure they know every single person you give water to or you say hi, introduce yourself, tell them what you do, ask them where they're from.
Wow.
Ask them. So my daughter, she will run around, where are you from? My name is Skyler. What's your name? You know, because this is what we're instilling in them early.
Communication.
Yes, exactly.
So we're getting towards the end, but now that we're speaking a little bit about your kids, we're speaking a little bit about financial literacy, and you teaching them a lot of this stuff. I'm just curious, Yandy, like building businesses, organizations, things of that nature. Can you enlighten people what it's like to experience what Africa is like?
Oh, Africa. So we have had...
I don't think a lot of people really have the real understanding of how Africa is.
So I've been to several countries in Africa, but my favorite is Ghana. And if any of you in here get an opportunity to visit Ghana, do it. Do it. The minute you get off the plane, especially when you are from the States, they say welcome home. And they don't say welcome home and just mean like that's just a term they say. They really feel like children of the diaspora, which we all are, because we are all theoretically from that motherland of Africa. And we somehow got dispersed all across these states.
It's all connected.
They say, yes, when they say welcome home, they really treat you like you need to come back home. Even if you don't want to live here, you need to do business here, you need to come visit here. We walk into restaurants, they hear our accent, they're like, your money's no good here.
Wow.
You're not going into not a damn restaurant here in the States and they're going to tell you your money ain't good here. You paying.
Wow.
But when you go to Ghana, you experience things like that. You experience all kind of people that really want you to feel like this is where you belong. So we just recently opened up a Yale Skin, we have a spa, but it's a Yale Skin branch at the spa in Ghana. And it's amazing.
You got a branch in Ghana?
Yeah, we have a branch in Ghana.
Moves
So you guys gotta come to New Med Spa if you ever go to Ghana. I'm telling you, book a trip to Ghana. It is amazing. I got my brother in the back right here. Raise your hands. We met in Ghana. Wasn't it amazing? It was beautiful.
We'll figure out how to do a travel package through Mocafy to where we're set up like
that. That would be amazing. We're going back in December.
Let's try this.
And let me tell you something about meeting people. So I met him in Ghana. I have a skincare line. He works for a manufacturing company that manufactures skin line. He's like, whatever you paying for your skincare line at your warehouse, at your manufacturer, I'm going to beat the price just because I'm going to beat the price.
Wow.
And that's the beauty of connections. That's the beauty of collaboration. That's the beauty of communicating and talking to people. Like I said, manners and being nice have opened up so many doors for me that money, I couldn't pay my way to meet certain people that have been able to change my life.
Can I catch you off of just you speaking about that? If you don't mind me asking
for
you?
Sure.
In this industry, if you don't mind sharing with us, who are like some of your mentors or people that you idolize? Because you've been around a lot of success.
Yeah.
So sometimes a lot of us, we don't recognize sometimes the people that we're connected to that can help us be able to see more about ourselves, to be able to do certain things. So if you don't mind sharing that with us.
So my biggest inspiration aren't people in the industry. My biggest inspiration are single mothers out there. Any single mothers in the building? Okay. There you go. Shout out to y'all. Let me give y'all a standing ovation.
Strong women.
I can't stand all the way because the camera won't get me.
I stand up.
Shout out to y'all single mothers out there.
Shout out to y'all.
So I have a group of girls that I grew up with. We're all from Harlem in a group chat. And they're all single mothers.
Shout out to you, T.
Shout out to all my girls, okay? And I have watched them work these jobs, raise their children. And this is before I was one of the later ones to become a mom. And their children are on the honor roll. And if they're not on the honor roll, they always look good, always look clean, always involved in basketball, this, that, art department, dance. I had babies, and I was like, how do y'all do it? How do you read, do homework, cook, clean, be doctor, be the cheerleader, be the coach of the basketball team? How do you do it? And I was like, I couldn't, there were so many times I was tired. I was like, I can't do it. This mother thing is too much.
Okay.
But I would look at them and feel like, you did it.
So your girls is
you did it.
Wow,
my girls are a huge part of my inspiration. They inspire me every day because I'm like, if y'all could get it done, and I have a husband and I got, support, I could get it done.
That's right.
I could get it done. But then in the industry, Mona played a very big part in my life, and then Missy played a very big part in my life. Butta, so many people. But my biggest inspiration, I'm telling you, are the single mothers that I watch kill it every day. My babies be great. You see my babies, my daughter, her hair ain't done. I saw my baby that my daughter, her hair was looking crazy. I ain't got the time. My girlfriends, they hair be all parted, braided, this, that. I'm like, I don't have the time. You lucky she got on a clean shirt today.
Moving and grooving.
Because it's just hard. It's hard. So I appreciate that. Is one of my biggest inspirations. Those single moms out there that be killing it. I salute you. I take my hat off. I know what it feels like, and it's not easy.
Well, even though she's giving y'all, all these props, all right? I'm sorry, I'm from Harlem, and I'm kind of like going to end it this way, okay? As a mom,
yes,
I would like to know, because we all need to hear this. You're married. You have a husband that's behind you, that works with you, that does a lot.
Yes.
We need to be able to share more of Black love, and I'm talking about really working with each other to help build one another. Can you share with people? Because I think a lot of people in this world, they're dealing with not trying to understand what it takes to be in a relationship and to be successful. And like I said, if a lot of us ever want to be successful and we have partners, I would love for them to hear how you manage it.
I'm like, you want to call him to the stage? He's like, no. So, okay, relationships are not easy.
Okay.
Okay? I will say that. Marriage takes work.
Yes.
working, raising children, being busy, and still trying to be in a relationship takes constant work.
Okay.
But I think the important thing for us is that we choose each other at the end of it all. You know, we go through a lot of different things. He gets on my last one. I get on all of his nerves every day. You know, and I think, but at the end of it all, I choose him. You know, at the end of it all, I tell him, you know, I'm not leaving you. I'm here. And I think he feels the same way. So when we go through these different things, it always feels good. If I'm going out of town, even if I'm mad at him, I'm like, you want to come with me? If he's going somewhere or he's going to a club and he's not feeling me, he'd be like, you want to come go out tonight? Because we like to be around each other. You know, if all else fails, I know that that's a safe space for me. And I'm a safe space for him. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need somebody to come home. Even if we're not speaking or if things ain't always right, I like knowing he's in that bed where I can look over and see him. Right? I like knowing that he's an amazing dad to our children. And I hope he feels like I'm an amazing mom to our children as well. And I think that that's important. Like when you know what you want and what you need in your life, you make things work. And I think that's what we do. We make it work.
I wanted to highlight that before we end because I'm such a fan of looking at people that are working very hard when it comes to knowing where they came from and the struggles, but now have to do it together. And I know sometimes that can get hard, but
it does.
I'm glad that you and then DC and your family, everything that y'all building together, like I wanted to come and put a spotlight on that because to me, you are a leader. You know, a lot of people are looking at a lot of other people in different ways as leaders, and I'm not here to judge them, but I wanted to make sure on my platform that I show the leaders that I know that I grew up with. So thanks,
so
Shan.
much.
I appreciate you. Thank you,
you.
Dancin. I appreciate y'all for coming out.
Thank y'all so much.
Make sure y'all follow Streets First Podcast. Make sure y'all follow mocha5.com. Make sure y'all follow Yandy.
Follow me, Yandy Smith. I keep it simple. The name I get checks in. Yandy Smith everything. So listen, we gonna turn up. They gonna move these cameras. Y'all wanna dance, y'all dance. I took a lot of y'all time. But now it's turn up time. So DJ, get them some turn up music. They ready to party.
This one's for the streets first. Stripes like a referee shirt. This one's for the streets first. Tell mama this the rebirth. Say I need church. I talk dirty. All my hands and my feet work. Teamwork. Put in pain, but gotta bring it to the streets first.